Thanks for finding 18 to 80 Podcast, a podcast about aging. Vitamins, supplements, exercise, biohacks, food science, and stories. We do not have to go quietly into that good night. Nope. We can live longer and better if we want to. Now, let's podcast.
My take on this thing. I cheated when I first started doing this podcast because I got this idea from a couple of folks. I went to AI, Chat GPT, and I just asked it, what are the top supplements and vitamins for anti-aging? And it broke it down into, I think there's 10 or 12. And I'm here with two guests today. One is the owner of Optimize You, Josh Porter, and the other is the owner of Nutrition World. And we're going to go through I think it's 5 or 6 of them today, a little more detail, what they are and how effective they are and why we should consider them when it comes to aging and aging gracefully and best quality of life. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on this.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's going to be a good one, dude.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you do. This is what you help people do, live a better quality of life, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about this particular episode is, there's some of these things that I do, but I also appreciate the partnerships that I have, as you'll hear in a minute.
Yeah.
One of the leading experts, in my opinion, when it comes to this kind of stuff with Ed, has been something I've just relied on heavily when I say, hey, you need to go upstairs to Nutrition World,
right,
and listen to them when they talk about some of this. But I'm excited. I'm
going to bring Ed in, but we're all in the studio recording 2 or 3 of these at a time just to be transparent. And one of the episodes that's coming up next is hormones,
right?
Which is this is that relationship you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ed Jones, Nutrition World, I'm assuming that he will send people up to you about this. And when it comes to the hormone component, you're like, hey, you go see our friends at Josh and Optimize You.
It works so well. It's absolutely the opposite of my marriage. It is absolutely perfect. So I'm not divorcing Josh anytime in this lifetime. We are connected.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
We're an intro episode in and now the first episode, and both of them have taken a turn at Albuquerque that I had no idea. We're talking about marriages, and so this will be great. That's a different... That might be one we take up with Carissa. When she comes in. All right. Let me take a drink of water.
Hey, I want to make one quick comment.
Yeah, please do.
The guy Brian Johnson, Bryan Johnson, not our Dr. Brian Johnson, but this is the other entrepreneur who has worth millions, I don't know, maybe $1 billion, who knows. He has devoted his whole life to kind of what you're doing on here. He's wanting to investigate the authentic ways to extend the quality and the length of life.
Right.
Not just the length, not just the quality, but both of those. He's got to be a little fanatical to do what he's doing, but I appreciate his expertise because he's saying this works, this doesn't work based on some very in-depth studies on his own body.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're doing here a little bit.
Well, and two, here's what happens. And Brian Johnson came in a conversation I was having with somebody the other day. We hear the things. Everybody should take collagen. Okay. Well, who do I go ask?
Right.
Where do I find? There's 5,000 podcasts. I can hear 25 different opinions. You drink this kind, no, take this pill. Take this brand's terrible. Have you checked this brand? Go buy it over there. And it becomes white noise. It becomes pseudoscience, or the snake oil salesman that's the wagon from the old movies where it's just selling and moving on to the next city. Some of this stuff gets thrown in there and it's not true. Right. One of the reasons I want to do this podcast is I can have people in the room and I say something and y'all go, hey, that sounds smart, and it's not.
Right.
That's beneficial too, is to parse this out with experts. So I'm going to jump straight into it because I'm going to keep these podcasts tight if we can. We're going to just go through the first half of this list of supplements and vitamins that the AI said was good for us, and it's collagen. Ed, collagen, sir, what is it and why should we consider taking it? And does form matter? And by the way, Josh, since this is a new podcast, you can join in with either information or become an interviewee and ask questions too.
Well, collagen is extremely important as we age. One is it is a type of protein that's very abundant in the body. It's found in tendons, ligaments, skin, and a big part of our bones, about approximately 50%, consist of collagen.
Right.
And this collagen is can be thought of as glue. It holds us together. It makes us look young. That's why people 10 years old and 20 have such a different look than a person 67 as myself. The fluffiness of our skin, and Josh sees this all the time in women, because hormones also, and I don't know this, he may, I'm not sure what the lessening of hormones does to collagen, but I can almost bet you that it's significant. And retrieving that and getting that balance of hormones may be one of the missing links within the collagen. Because number one, collagen is safe, in my opinion, if it's derived from a healthy source.
What does that mean?
That means that collagen is generally animal derived. It can be from chickens or from cows, and I want the collagen that is clean. I want the collagen that has not been given a lot of antibiotics.
Okay, so this is where we get to go back and forth. And Josh, if there's something you want to add to this, feel free to. But are there certifications? Are there certain seals I should look on a bottle? If I come to nutrition, let's just get this out there. You go to Nutrition World, they vetted this for you. So if it's on their shelves, it's been vetted.
It's been vetted.
But otherwise, maybe there's people listening to this podcast in other cities.
Right.
My question is, are there seals? Are there certifications? Or is this one of those things that you just need to do research on?
I must say, in collagen, it's not like protein. Protein, we have absolute certifications. Nutrients, absolute. Collagen's kind of in a gray area because it's hard to find the transparency necessary without a reputation of the ethical companies.
Gotcha.
I mean, companies like Ancient Nutrition and the people we deal with for years, I trust because they tell us this is where we're getting our collagen. This is where the cows were raised. We know this about that. Collagen's more difficult to test, but it is one of the unusual things that can't have too many labels. If I look for a label, it would be the word organic. It really would be.
You want to add something?
Yeah, what is, from your standpoint, Ed, when is a time that you actually encourage people to use collagen? At what age?
I think as soon as you start seeing some changes in the consistency of the skin, I think that's the first time, or the nails or the hair. And it's so easy to use because it's somewhat tasteless and you just drink it.
Okay, well, so with that though, it's also good for joint pain too, right? Or is that something? Is that a secondary byproduct?
Yeah, joint like strength, stability. So it helps with tendon health, which is in general is going to help with joint pain, things like that. Just from
Is it better in a pill form, powder form, liquid form?
I think dosage is pretty critical. It's hard to get enough out of pills, but people who will take 4 pills can get some results normally, but not 2.
So I would go. So again, because these are going to stay tight in timelines, these podcasts. We're talking powder or liquid form?
We have liquid. Now, the liquid I used by Health Direct was the one that I feel is best for recovering from surgery. Josh is the one who set me up with Dr. Higgins, who gave me could not have found a more wonderful, skilled person in the universe for a double hip replacement, actually a year ago, April. And I used the Health Direct collagen because it's the only one that has the studies in the hospitals and has 28 versions of collagen. There's all kind of types of collagen. This is the one that has the most, but all of them have good quality collagen. They just truly do.
Yeah.
Is it the one in the big white bottle in your place?
Yeah, in the big red and white bottle.
Yeah, I got some for my girlfriend. I take some, and I got some for my daughter. So that was based off of your directive.
Yeah, and I would say, too, it's one of those products, and that's why I was asking him about timing. Because to me, it's if you wait too long, it's probably got limited benefit. It's more to me about the slowing down of the progression of finding so timing is, in my opinion, is important. Don't wait 10 years, but after you're like all wrinkled up, and then I'm going to take some collagen and it's going to reverse this. It's you're going to have a diminished return on investment.
Well, it's kind of like Matt Davis bodybuilding. You know, if he didn't work out any till he was 55, he would never achieve what he is going to achieve at 55 because he's maintained this muscular structure.
You're building on it by the time you get there.
Muscular like me, kind of like unlike you.
Wow. See, you see what's happening,
fired.
Josh. You see what's happening. Hey, all right, we're moving on to the next one, and I will find a time in the next 4 or 5 minutes, Ed, to completely get you back for that. So NAD. So I take NAD. Every day, I take a pill in the morning and a pill at night.
How many milligrams?
That's from your store. I don't have to look it up.
There's 100 and a 300. So probably you're doing 100 milligrams twice a day.
It's a little blue. I think it's Life Essential. Is that the
Life Extension?
Extension. Okay, before I go down this road, I don't care which one of y'all want to do it. What is NAD and what's its main purpose in the body? Someone take it and run with it, and we're going to spend just 2 or 3 minutes on this one.
Well, NAD is a coenzyme that really is, if you look at how coenzymes work, in particular, it goes all the way back to cellular health. So what NAD does is it helps with repair and function of the cell itself.
Okay.
And the reason it's important as we age is because our bodies lose the efficiency in cellular health, cellular maintenance. And so you start to get what's called senescent cells, where cells become dormant, they become less effective. And NAD is a restorer of that cellular function.
Okay.
So when it comes to ATP or mitochondria, so energy within the cell, NAD has the potential to increase your overall cellular function. So at a microscopic level, right? I use NAD from a medication form, so we use it in intramuscular or subcutaneous injections in my office.
Really?
So there's supplementation grade, and then you can do IVs. We don't do IVs. IVs are a challenge sometimes to. You have to really kind of monitor the patient, but I'm injecting NAD 3 times a week right now.
I'm going to come and ask you about that, but let's go to what they can get at Nutrition World. Do you take NAD every day?
I take NAD most of the time, but as Josh knows, he spoke very wisely about it. The senescent cells, what are those? Those are cells that should have died, and they didn't. They keep hanging around, so they become like old, worn-out tires with no tread. They're not as useful as they used to be, and they cause us to die because their function is so malfunctioning. And Josh and I have done a podcast on rapamycin, rapamycin, the drug that I take, and I am hugely invested. And the reason I love it is because it does also help eliminate senescent cells. So and also, just on the side note, I do ketamine therapy, IV, and it's Scenic City Neurotherapy. Absolutely love it for many reasons. And about 4 months ago, the guy came in, Brian, wonderful, who he puts the IV in. He said, "Man, I hate to tell you this, Ed. We ran out of NAD." And I had forgotten that they put NAD in the ketamine. And I know that NAD has like a detoxing ability to it. And I said, "I'm sure it'll be fine." The difference between my ketamine with NAD and without was not day and night, but it was significant.
Really?
I came in here and you and I did a podcast that day, and I struggled that day because the NAD was not there to help me detox the remainder of this ketamine.
Is it? And then I want to ask you about the injections and the form of the different grades. But is it one of those things too you take early on, or is it something that if I'm knee deep in pain right now and not recovering, I feel like, can I start taking and expect some differences in the next? And how long does it take? A month, 2 months, 2 weeks? When should I start seeing some differences?
Well, I'll connect with rapamycin here a little bit because it's a very similar pattern in my mind. To me, if I'm on the front end of this, I'm using a supplement grade, right? If I'm more on the preventative side and grabbing hold of this early, there's no reason to be injecting, in my opinion. Now, as you start to get in maybe mid 40s or later, and you want to, and I don't do NAD injectable all the time. I actually will use a bottle for 6 weeks and then kind of take a break, and I may do that 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
And then oftentimes I'll go back to supplementation when I'm not using the injectable. But it's probably, it depends on the severity. Or I've used it recently for a dermatological reason. So I didn't want to be on a steroid cream, and I was having this little outbreak on my arm, and I thought, I'm going to try. So I combined NAD with glutathione, and 3 weeks later, it's gone.
Cool. Really?
Yeah. So
I should have been smarter and just got my degree. This would have been great to be able to treat myself with that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So there's my guinea pig story.
Well, the thing is, when you use the word treatment to most people, if the thing went away, did it go away because the body fixed itself, or did it go away because you symptomatically covered something up? Well, often pharmaceuticals are covering it up. Josh actually fixed it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you pointed that out. All right, let's go to number 3 here, and one of y'all look up the screen and read that to me. What is that again? I always screwed up.
Resveratrol.
Resveratrol.
Yes.
I did pretty good. I did okay. I have no clue what this one is. I don't think I've taken it.
I'll let you go because I'm curious on this one because I think this one's got a little bit more of a controversial opinion, right?
It does now. Now, resveratrol is what we look at with red wine.
Yeah.
And all the people who, the health benefits of red wine was attributed to resveratrol, and it came out with a boom as far as headlines probably 20 years ago, and we all started taking it. It has to do with genes, and it has to do with these sirtuin genes that would kind of be activated in fasting and things like that. So if you do that, you'll raise this level of gene activity that's very healthy. It makes you live longer, supposedly. I have come to believe that I don't want to take resveratrol.
This is why I love this podcast, because this is one of the things that people ask me about this. I've heard this before, and it came up in AI.
Yep.
So this makes me really glad that I know people like you. What's your reasoning for not taking it, Ed?
Well, the research is showing that, first off, the research showed there's a bell curve to it, which means some looked good, a modest amount was maybe better, too much was actually negative. So it wasn't like linear. And that kind of made me a little bit, okay, I'm going to err on the side of low dosing. That's what I did for a long time. And now it's just not panning out that it actually is in the end result. It might affect a little bit of that gene activity, but nothing like we thought it was supposed to do. Nothing.
Josh, you want to add to that? Because I like how you threw the controversial stuff directly over to Ed immediately. You know, Ed, there's some controversy. Why don't you take this one first, sir?
Well, I knew his opinion on it too.
Yeah.
But I think that's what he just shared really well was it's all about risk reward, right? Not that there's a high risk, but is there much reward? And what it was perhaps overhyped. I think a lot of people, the idea of like, oh, I can get this in my red wine.
It's a fad.
And
that's what brought it up right there.
Fad.
You know, I can justify my behavior. And so I think there was hope there that it's like, oh, yeah, great. But I think when you look at it, I don't think there's tons of risk as much as like, I just don't think there's a whole lot of reward.
Something in your body you may not need.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they come out with something like that around donuts. Just for a couple of months, we're like, you know what? We found that
You're
eating
that
4
guy.
donuts an hour.
Yeah, he's the guy. Yeah.
This is funny, real quick. I was driving by Krispy Kreme the other day, and it was like 4:00 in the afternoon, and I thought, and there's a line, and I'm thinking, who's that? Who is that person that would be there? And it's you. It would be you.
Here's how bad, real quick, and I know we're on timelines. Here's how bad it is. By us talking about this, there's 100% chance that on the way home tonight, I'm going to go buy Krispy Kreme and get a couple of donuts. Now, let's move on. Look at Ed's. Ed looks like my friend that's just, I made a bad life decision, and he's like, oh, poor guy. He's trying. All right, curcumin, turmeric. Is this the stuff in my little seasoning cabinet? Is that what we're talking about?
It is partially. It all is from the same plant. And turmeric or turmeric is the plant. Curcumin is the active ingredient that has the medicinal qualities.
But real quick, I see them both. I mean, they both have different. Yep. So if somebody's getting it, or should I come to get a supplement?
First off, my opinion now, due to my oxalate journey in my life, is that turmeric has too many oxalates. Never buy turmeric or turmeric ever again the rest of your life. What's weird about oxalates is once they take the active ingredient out of the mainstay where it came from, often it takes all the oxalates away. They were left behind with the other stuff that was left behind. And so I'm hugely invested in curcumin for so many reasons. Terry Limron, who owns the company Terry Naturally, he posts so much good research on curcumin, and he has this Dr. Ajit who travels the country talking about cancer and cancer treatment using higher doses of it because it inhibits the replication of cancer cells, but it also protects the liver, anti-inflammatory. We have it for a headache pill. It is beyond belief, and it's extremely safe up to a certain point.
Josh, you want to add something about that before I add? Because one of my questions is going to be dosing. Like, what do you say up to a certain point? And I'm assuming that's where because I put it in my, it sounds weird, I put it in stuff now that I know that curcumin's good. I'll put it in stuff that you're not supposed to put it. I put it in my coffee.
It's fine. But I think we do know that research shows that it needs some fat to be absorbed with.
So I put in there with my coconut oil.
You need that with your donut. You need Krispy Kreme and curcumin together.
I don't want this to get an R-rated thing, but you're being an asshole.
Yeah. So
this is, but it isn't home. That's the problem.
I didn't say you're wrong at all. You're right.
Yeah. So curcumin
I love
for
Ed Jones, everybody.
You hear the thought process that turmeric helps with anti-inflammatory properties for joint pain, and a lot of people that I see, come in on that. So Ed, I'm throwing this back to you. If you see that person, right? So let's say they're my hips are bad or my knees are bad. Curcumin is okay.
Perfect
for that.
Yes.
Particular joint pain. Okay,
but not turmeric would be.
But turmeric is not.
Okay.
So,
real quick, there's other foods that surprise me about the oxalates. I do not want this to be an oxalate conversation, but surprise everybody with 2 or 3 foods that probably not as good for the joints.
In my opinion, the reason I had double hip replacement, which probably at 70 to 80 I might have ended up having, but I started suffering way before I thought I should have. So why do I think that? Because I eat spinach every other day, which has almost 600 milligrams. We only need 100 milligrams, or we can only handle 100 to 200 per day. 600 in one serving of spinach. Raspberries. My wife used to say, "You're the craziest thing on earth. You eat raspberries every freaking night. Why are you doing that?" And I just would look at her and eat my raspberries.
Right.
Well, guess what? They have tons of of oxalates. Now, blueberries don't have many. Raspberries has a ton.
Real quick, though, because they crystallize in the joints, basically little shards of glass.
That's exactly what they are. Right. And some people process them out, and some people store them. I store them into my hips.
Yeah.
And then a couple other foods is dark chocolate, which I eat almost every day because it's very nutritious and healthy, but it's not healthy for me or for people who store oxalates.
Josh, you want to add something about curcumin or something before we move on, buddy?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
CoQ10. So I used to take this a long time ago, and then I've been off of it for a couple years. I'm in your store the other day, and I think we had talked about it on the radio show, and I just mentioned it. Somebody goes, "You're taking that, aren't you?" I'm like, "No." They go, "Dude, of all the stuff you take, that should be one of the things that you take." Someone of y'all explain to me why we should be taking that, and if we should be taking it. Maybe it's not a good fit for everybody. I don't know.
Well, I mean, in my world, I see people on CoQ10 or ubiquinol for cardiovascular health would be the primary reason that I note that people are using it. And I will say this, and Ed may be able to attest to this. There's not a ton of supplements that the mainstream medical world is supportive of. I actually see several patients come in where their physician or their primary care actually is generally okay with CoQ10 or
really,
yeah, and it's kind of fascinating. So, which I think speaks to perhaps its benefit.
And what are some of the benefits? I know it's good for is it good for cell damage and like he mentioned heart health. What are some of the other things as you mix your god awful protein drink over there?
First off, it's not a god awful. It's amazing and ancient nutrition. A2 whey protein.
There you go,
booger.
Yeah, I just want everybody to understand what they hear. Like somebody's making martinis in the background. We're actually trying to stay healthy here.
Look, when you're 20 years old, your body produces a lot of coenzyme Q10. What is its number one purpose is to maintain the vitality and strength of the heart.
Okay.
The reason we know that is because when you get older, past 50, your production has decreased significantly. And when you take a statin drug, it pretty much eliminates it. Our industry has sued through the FDA on at least 3 occasions to have it put on the box of every statin that we recommend you to take coenzyme Q10, and we've lost every single time because of the corrupt pharmaceutical system. It's not going to be allowed. Maybe now with some changes it would be, because they refuse to embrace the green pharmacy, and it just is common sense to do that. So as you drop the coenzyme Q10, your heart can have more tendency to be weaker and have more heart disease. Now, in some studies, athletes seem to do better with it if they take extra amounts. Now, you can get a little from your food, but your body really makes a lot of it.
And so if your body's going to, as you get older, does it start making less?
Or like it does everything.
So that's where a good supplement. And what kind of form does it come in? Is it pill?
Yeah,
powder?
all capsules, easily absorbed. We can test for it. We know that if you're at a low level, taking it, you'll rise to a higher level. It's very easily absorbed.
All right, perfect. All right, well, listen, we're going to wrap this episode up. It's the actually first full episode of 18 to 80. The next episode, I'm going to tease it right now. So when you come back after you've put us on your favorite podcast platforms, when you subscribe or follow, we're going to be talking about hormones, aging for both men and women. It's going to be a great conversation. Ed, Josh, thank you both very much.
Thank you.